video.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead, flip it. You're good.
Like this. Right, hello everybody. Good afternoon. So when I joined the military, I realized that I have met more people from different backgrounds and had different cultural differences than I have outside of the military. And being in the military, I also realized you're bound to run into somebody who has a different belief, who comes from a totally different place, and overall has a different cultural background. So that brings me to the main point and the focus of my presentation. Diversity, why is it important? So to start off with, what is diversity exactly? Now, diversity is actually translated as a range of different things or a variety of things. But in modern terms, diversity is kind of like a mixture of people in our societies or communities. That's what we can most commonly refer to diversity as. Why should we pay attention to diversity? Well, accepting and understanding diversity can ultimately help us and allow us to have healthy relationships. So as you see here, this is a picture of me and my wife and our son. Now, you can tell right away that me and my wife have different skin complexions, we have different hair, different facial features. We come from completely different backgrounds and different places. And if we were not able to accept each other's backgrounds and cultural differences, we wouldn't be together. So diversity can help you actually have good relationships from people you're not so familiar with. Not only can it allow you to have a good relationship between boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, or any type of spouse, it can also help build relationships between military alliances. This right here is a picture of NATO headquarters, and it has all the countries that are involved in NATO as well. So it's composed of the United States, Canada, and a lot of other countries from Europe. Another example of a military alliance would be the CSTO, or the Collective Security Treaty Organization. It consists of Russia and a lot of other Balkan countries around the Russia area. A couple other examples of military alliances would be the Rio Pact, which consists of North America and South America and all the countries involved in those in North and South America, and the SEO, which consists of Russia, China, and some more of their allies. Diversity also helps us to develop people skills. It helps us get better along with each other, and in the military, it helps people build trust and friendship with foreigners. This is a quote from Cora from pickthebrain.com, and she says, "Part of people skills is being able to deal with individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds, given the evolution of our domestic and global society." Now, how exactly or how diverse are we as a country? So this is according to the US 2010 census, and the census comes out every 10 years, so that's why I had to pick the 2010 census. It's the most recent that's open to the public. And this is the percent of population that we have in the United States based on ethnic backgrounds. As you can see, 62% of it is white. You have 14% Hispanic or Latino Americans, 11% Black or African American, 4% is 4% is Asian, and then 5% is other. And you have less than 2% that is Native American or Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. If we take a look at the ethnic backgrounds in the US Army, it's actually not much different. It's almost the same. So 60% identify themselves as being of white race, and then 40% identify themselves as either being Black, Hispanic, Asian, or other. This is a really big number because let's say you didn't have that 40% in the military. So that would greatly diminish the strength of the Army. It just goes to show you how much we actually need diversity, not only in our societies, communities, in the United States, but as well as our militaries and the Army as well. So what else does diversity allow us to see? Well, diversity gives us perspective and empathy. It allows us to put ourselves in other people's shoes and kind of see what they have to go through and what they have to experience. It allows us to learn and accept others. And when we interact with people from different backgrounds, we can see how much in common we actually have. This is a quote from Mr. O'Boyle from @globalyouth.org, and it says, "When you compare your struggles, priorities, and values, you can really begin to comprehend where an individual is coming from and understand his or her actions and behaviors." So what happens if we don't accept diversity? Well, obviously, we will be weaker as a society and as a community. A good example of weakness by not accepting diversity would be the Civil War. So the Civil War was a time of ultimate separation, and it was because at the time many people felt like black people who came from Africa were inferior and they couldn't accept the integration of race into their culture, and essentially they did not agree with diversification or diversifying. Another example would be during the Vietnam War, there was a lot of racial tensions. During the time, you had soldiers that were black and white overseas, but over here in the United States, you also had segregation that was still ongoing, and it was also during the time where Martin Luther King got shot and died. So all the racial tensions that were going on here made itself across the pond in Vietnam. Goodwin is a New York Times author, and he talks about a journalist who's named Zalin Grant. And Zalin Grant reported that the biggest threat is race riots, not the Viet Cong. And the Viet Cong is the guerrilla militia that supported the Vietnamese during the Vietnam War. So as you can see, diversity has a really big negative impact. Let's say things were different during the Vietnam War, and people actually accepted each other. Maybe there might have been a different outcome. What if we actually do accept diversity? What can happen? And I strongly believe if we accept diversity, we work better together. And we can empathize and understand each other's struggles. And it leads me to this conclusion. This is from Mr. Tenas from teenink.com. And he says, studies show that the lack of cohesion between races, sexes, and cultures is due to mistrust, stereotyping, and more within cultural, conversation, and language problems. When these problems are not paid attention to, it may lead to an inability to endorse ideas, the inability to gain agreement on decisions, and the inability to take united action. So we essentially accept diversity. We can make better decisions. We can agree on things better. We can have ideas that are endorsed as well. And ultimately, it allows us to take better action regarding any situation. And that's my speech. Thank you. Move this out.